Still waiting for something to happen. Don't know what AJ Preller is up to these days. Entire Friar faithful waiting for some sort of activity, but the On Friar podcast presses on. And I think we're going to have a fun one today. Derek Togerson, a bit under the weather. Derek, hope you feel better soon. Appreciate Jim Russell, Jon Schaefer from Jon Jim joining us on short notice to talk Padres, this incredibly boring, uneventful offseason, and whatever else comes up. Maybe we'll talk about bobbleheads, team building activities, Jim Russell's upcoming nuptials. We'll see what comes up in the next 45 minutes or so. Thanks to OG's, a sponsor of the On Friar podcast. Brand new menu items coming at OG's in the weeks ahead. Be on the lookout for that. You can always enjoy their award-winning beers. Take advantage of their loyalty program. It's super easy. You can do it online, earn loyalty points, rewards, and exclusive offers, all of which lead to fun and free food. And ordering online from OG's, it's easier than ever to get OG's straight to your door, and a great place to watch NFL playoffs, maybe the Farmers Insurance Open over the course of the next couple days, NBA, whatever your sport of choice. OG's a great place to watch a game, enjoy good food, and good beers. Without further ado, the walk-up music. It is the On Friar podcast brought to you by NBC 7. I am Darnay Tripp, no Derek Togerson, but look who we have. Jim Russell, Jon Schaefer.
Why can't we get an opening graphic like that, Jim?
Because our budget isn't as high as NBC 7.
Fair.
Maybe I can have the folks here work on something for you guys.
Okay.
You like the sound
Wait,
of that?
is this for Jon Jim or is this for the wrap-up show?
Forget about Jon Jim. This is a wrap-up show.
Yeah, wrap-up show is all we care about. Come on.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm always envious when I tune into the wrap-up show because I'll be on before it even starts and the chat is just blowing up, and it's people talking to you guys, like super chats, people just carrying on conversations amongst themselves, and we're working on the YouTube live stream engagement here. Haven't quite gotten it popping off like you guys, but maybe we'll bring some of your audience here. So if you're watching on YouTube, get in the chat. We'll discuss your questions and comments. I don't demand money like these guys do with the super chats.
That's Jon.
And technically, I don't think we're allowed to accept that money on the NBC 7 page.
We'll take it.
Yeah,
we'll just send it in. We'll have it.
We'll
open.
We'll forward it to you guys. I was gonna say I feel bad. I always feel bad when I loop people in on short notice. But being that Jon texts me at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon a few times a week saying, hey, can you come on today at 3 o'clock because everybody else said no, I don't feel so bad making you guys do it today.
That's fair. That's fair. No, it's good to be doing this. I would do it as often as you want me to. You know how it is with kids and wives and jobs, but I love doing this stuff.
Hey, look at this. Steve's in the chat. There's 8 of us here.
Let's go.
Including Luis. All right. We got something
built
going.
to fish is in the chat. Yes.
Oh, there he is saying sup, guy. Are you watching on YouTube? You're getting this before I am.
There's like a little comment thing on my screen, so I can see it, which is nice.
So nothing's happening, guys. Still.
Thanks for having us on. Talk to you later.
Nothing happening.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah. That's if we were talking about real Padres things, that would basically be the extent. That'd be all the time we need because continues to be crickets. Are a couple moves elsewhere? Hey, Jock Peterson staying in the division, just making his tour of the NL West. Rhys Hoskins earlier this week. Rhys, I think, was kind of like the one who got away from me. Like of the guys that I thought, now, was he ever in their price range? I don't know. Was it 17 million over the course of 2 years? 34 million, whatever it ends up being. Was there a guy? It's hard to tell because of their price range, but has there been a guy that's gone to another team that you guys have thought that could have been nice? I wish they had kind of worked that out because I think Hoskins is that guy for me. He just would make a lot of sense.
I mean, I would say Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha. would be the first. I mean, and I'm serious when I say that. I mean,
It's a good
especially
point.
at the price tags that Kansas City got him for, and the fact that they basically turned down the ability to sign him for that exact same amount. And considering where they are with pitching, you feel like those prices are pretty reasonable, and that might be the best of options considering how limited they are in spending. So I'd probably start with what they had.
No, yeah, I agree on that. Pitching. But one guy we talked about him today, and it was interesting because Jon Heyman mentioned it, and it was not a throwaway line, but it made me definitely go, "Excuse me." Was Jung-Hoo Lee, a guy that I think the Padres were definitely in on. And Jon Heyman reported that the Padres offered him over $100 million, and he ended up signing with the Giants this offseason for well over $100 million. But still, it was interesting to hear that the Padres not only were in on him, but they were in on him for that price range. No idea what the contract would have looked like. No idea what the years would have looked like. All he said was $100 million offer to Jung-Hoo Lee. And this was after, obviously, the Soto trade when they needed, outfielders, and they still need outfielders. So that's a name that I think would have been very interesting. And it would have been very interesting to see what type of money, if $100 million was it, that they would have given to him. But it's like, okay, if you're going to give him $100 million plus, then why haven't any other moves happened this offseason other than, Matsui and Go?
How close was that total, do you think, to what Cody Bellinger is going to get?
I mean, Cody Bellinger, I think, is going to get maybe $50 million more dollars than that. I mean, Cody Bellinger is a guy that is a proven major leaguer. He has former MVP. He's, can play elite defense in the outfield. Left-handed power bat. There's not many of those on the market, if any, right? I think Cody Bellinger should get way more than that. And I know probably the question is, well, why can the Padres potentially go after Cody Bellinger? I just think Cody Bellinger's way out of their price range. And it just, I love Cody Bellinger here. I think he'd be a great addition. They need a left-handed power outfield bat because they just lost one. But the money, it's not going to match up.
I mean, Jesse Rogers, who we had on today on Jon and Jim from ESPN, was like, listen, well, I don't think these high market or top of the free agent market players are going to get less per year. They may get less years. So with this playing out in such a slow pace where, maybe you were outside of the Bellinger market because of years and the overall number, but if those years come off and all of a sudden it's not a long-term deal and it's something like 2 or 3 years, I mean, maybe it's realistic. It doesn't sound as if it is with San Diego. I don't like selling that narrative. I'm just telling you what Jesse Rogers told us, which is these guys will get paid at the top of the market that are Scott Boras clients, but they might not get the years that they think they're going to get.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder, was like 80 of the 100 million for Jung-Hoo Lee deferred to after 2031 or something like that?
Maybe.
Yeah, we want to give you $2 million for the next 2 years, but the rest of the 95 or whatever, all backloaded.
Yeah. I mean, Preller will get creative. I mean, even last year, the Bogarts deals and that sort of deal seemed kind of cutting edge. Like, okay, we're going to stretch out the years to lower the AAV, but this guy's going to get a 200, whatever the 240 or whatever the deal ended up being. So obviously what the Dodgers did with Shohei is a different level of kind of that sort of creativity, but we've seen that in Preller. The market's been slow as a whole. It's picked up a little bit this week. I just don't know. Look, they filled out the rotation last year during spring training. I was there on the second or third day when Michael Wacha showed up. They've brought in, I think Eric Hosmer was a spring training guy. I know Manny Machado was a spring training guy. So they've done it before, but it seems hard to believe that they would enter into spring training with 1.5 outfielders.
Yeah, I think, you look at this team and it's not just them. If it was just the Padres, then it would be a different situation. There's a lot of teams in baseball that are not complete by any stretch right now. So whatever competition is left out there for positions that the Padres need, it's not just them.
Mm-hmm.
So the money is definitely the biggest question about, okay, how much they have left to spend, what's their true objective, and are they going to go out and spend it? That's why, to me, going into spring training, yes, it's important to have more than 2 outfielders or 1.5 outfielders on your 40 man, right? It's very important. But to me, more importantly, is what Eric Casenda says the start of spring training, whenever that is going to be, to me, the most interesting thing that will come out of spring training by far is one, actually seeing the guy. And
Super
two,
weird that we haven't to this point already.
Exactly. There's one picture of him on the internet.
I was thinking today. I was thinking today they might do like one of the giveaways would be like a headshot giveaway of Eric Casenda because there's one headshot of him on the internet. I mean, is this guy? I said it the other day, Darnay, on Jon and Jim. Like, is he 7 feet tall? Is he 4'11"? Does he have a deep voice? Is he a soprano? I mean, does he have this huge Ziggy Top beard? I mean, what does this guy look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I'm very, very interested in that, and it just seems kind of nuts with everything that's going on that we haven't got a chance to hear from him. We still don't really know much about him, and maybe he just prefers to be a behind the scenes type of guy, but he's in a different role now that look, I mean, we're not talking about Jerry Jones here, and even Peter Seidler wasn't Ron Fowler to that extent, but you probably need to be a little bit more front facing, especially given the type of off season that they had. If let's see, tomorrow's Friday, you guys need some content for your show. Some news drops at like 2:45.
Yes.
What do you like? Realistically speaking, is it a Kim or a Cronenworth trade? Is it, there's talk about somebody like Alek Manoah. People are always talking about the Marlins. People are always talking about a Rosarena. Varying degrees of, realisticness to all these things. Maybe it's an outfielder. What would be the move you would like to see, like the next move you would like to see AJ Preller make? And it drops at 2:45 right before Jon and Jim.
I think you mentioned it. To me, it kind of feels like a pipe dream, but since you said his name, I'll bring it up as the most juicy possible move that could happen at 2:45 or I don't know, 2:55 right before our show tomorrow. No question about it. They trade for Randy Arozarena. Like that to me is the juiciest, oh my God, move that would excite the fan base the most out of the names that you just mentioned. Do I think that would happen? Absolutely not. But if I'm giving you a move that I would want right now at 2:55 tomorrow on a Friday afternoon, right before our Jon and Jim, is they trade for Randy Arozarena, then we might go 6 straight hours commercial free, honestly.
Probably not, but we'd probably do a wrap-up show for like 3 hours. I'll give you a name that it wouldn't necessarily be sexy in terms of getting people necessarily like to the radio, and I think Arozarena would be. Like that's a content machine, but in terms of what they need, a name that Mike Farron, MLB Network Radio, gave us about 2 weeks ago, Jesus Luzardo of the Marlins, left-handed starter who's controllable. This is what they need, and the Marlins may be actively seeking to move a Luzardo. I mean, shoot, they might move an Arise when it comes to, a batting champ as well. But I think in terms of what the Padres actually need, that fits, checks that box. I mean, if you could bring in a starter that's controllable, that isn't earning a ton of money, that you can slot into the middle of your rotation. Again, I don't know if it's the sexiest name. I don't think it's a Arozarena, but I think it's something that fits and makes sense and is something they should probably be considering, and I do think they'll go the trade route. I don't know when it's going to happen, and I think it's among the moves to come. It's going to be a somewhat significant trade to address some need that the Padres have.
Mason wants Aaron Hicks, switch hitting outfielder. Let's see, 34 years old, Southern California guy. Played last season with the Jays.
Well, that's not very sexy.
The Yankees and the Orioles. But it's practical. And at this point, they might have to settle for practical. It's right. In some cases, it's like a relationship. You know what I mean? You're looking for sexy, but maybe practical is the route to go. Something that just like
I want both,
works.
Man.
No, I'm going with the first.
I'm going full sexy. All right.
It works. Sorry. Life is good. They make you happy. It's low stress, but gets the job done. I don't know. But that's certainly a name that's out there. Derek has certainly banged the Jesus Luzardo drum over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
There's actually a piece on NBC7 where he put together a trade proposal for Luzardo. That's one of the names out there. And left-handed arms it's good to have some variety there since they lost a pretty good one. So we'll see. Mason also wondered why hasn't there been talk about Tom taking over control of the team, Peter's brother. We did hear from Tom at a bike giveaway earlier, and so he's been out a little bit, made a public appearance. Almost eerie how much he sounds like his brother when you hear him speak, but they figure out all the inner workings of their franchise. So that's not up to me. I'm sure there's a reason it's Eric Atsenda, and we'll find out more about that. And buddy Alex doesn't want any Cowboys talk. I'm sure Jim would love that. Jim,
Does he mean Niners? Does he mean
don't worry,
Niners?
we won't have any Cowboys talk. We won't have any Eagles talk on this, or Niners talk. Don't worry.
No, yeah. Let's avoid all those as much as possible. There was another question. Actually, I had a bunch of questions I wanted to ask you guys. Where was I wanting to go? I feel like one of you guys said something that triggered something, but now I can't remember. Which is why I'm not a full-time radio host. Which is why
look at Will Holder's in the chat.
Oh,
Will's in the
now
chat.
this got real. Hunjin Ryu. I like that.
He says Hunjin Ryu.
I did mention Jerry Jones. That's my bad, Kirk. Winker on a cheap deal as a DH / left fielder. I feel like Winker's a guy for like years that Will Holder has definitely mentioned on various occasions. So these guys are all out there, but nothing's coming of it.
John mentioned it today, and when I brought up the Jung-Hoo Lee $100 million, right? And like, oh well, if they're willing to give $100 million to Jung-Hoo Lee, why can't they just use that $100 million in like 3 players? And then John, you brought up a good point. Like, well, if you're using that $100 million on a couple guys that 3 guys that aren't really that good, or at least like you're spending 30 million here and 25 million here and another 40 million here, like, is that really beneficial? Or would you rather have a young player be brought up that wouldn't cost you anything and you don't have the potential of giving out a bad deal?
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thought process. Okay, so you don't get Jung-Hoo Lee for $100 million, but the jury's out on Jung-Hoo Lee. And I'm not saying Jacob Marcy as a 22-year-old outfielder is Jung-Hoo Lee, but is the difference so vast that you would really want to spend that money? Or, and we talked about this today, there's Ha-seong Kim out there. I mean, you got a 28-year-old do it all infielder that plays multiple positions, that is a high WAR player. That can you extend him out? Like if you were to give $100 million to Jung-Hoo Lee, I get it. It's a need. It's a position of need. But if I could keep, Ha-seong Kim for 3 or 4 years and I can get him for 18, 20 a year for those 3 or 4 years, is that a better usage of the money than just $15 million for a stopgap 5th starter, $100 million for Jung-Hoo Lee? I mean, we know what Ha-seong Kim is capable of. I'd like to see him here throughout the course of his prime.
That's a good point. And allocation of funds. There's a lot of different directions you could go with that conversation as it relates to the Padres. You mentioned Marcy. One of the questions I had for you guys is, you probably think, okay, like we should probably wait on these young guys and not rush them. But if you're like, hold off on the young guys except blank, is there somebody that maybe you are curious about that you'd be excited to see kind of pop during spring training, that you might be a little bit more willing to kind of thrust out there? Like, for instance, like I don't necessarily feel that way about Jackson Merrill. I'm kind of like, let's give him some time and make sure he's like fully ready before we throw him up there. But maybe it's just because Preller has floated the name Jacob Marcy and he's kind of planted that seed. There's obviously some arms out there, Iriarte, maybe Mazer. I think Drew Thorpe is a really interesting one. Like, how close is he? We don't really know, but obviously came off a great 2023 season. Whenever you hear people talk about him, they rave. Is there somebody that, like, if we were to keep most of them kind of in the oven, so to speak, maybe there's one that you'd be willing to or excited about kind of getting a chance maybe earlier than they should?
You got one, John?
Honestly, what I would say, and Graham Pauley's a good name, I'll tell you what I would say. It would be Jacob Marcy, and here's why. And I haven't seen him, nor have I scouted him, but he's about to be 23 years of age. And he's got limited Double-A time, excelled in the Arizona Fall League, fills a position of need. And someone like Jackson Merrill is 20. I mean, 2 years is a big difference in professional baseball. Marcy's been in the system since when? 6th round 2022. So similar period of time. but he's 2.5 years older or 2 years older. So like I just feel like with Merrill, you need to be careful. And by the way, if you're putting Merrill in the outfield, you have to be extra careful because he doesn't have seasoning in the outfield. So, and the fact that AJ Preller has mentioned Marcy by name this December to me is very telling. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him. I don't know if he's an everyday player, but you could give him the opportunity, or maybe he's a fourth outfielder potentially. But I'm not opposed to seeing a young player learn on the job if it's a young player. I don't need to see 6 of them, but if it's one young player and you give him 30 or 40 games, what's the worst thing that happens? He has numbers comparable to Trent Grisham. I mean, that's the worst thing that's going to happen. And is it really all that bad?
What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think Graham Pauley was a guy that kind of popped to my head first, as maybe being a guy that, look, you need, would you all agree, you need Ethan Salas, Jackson Merrill, your 2 top guys. Like, you need them to hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't afford to mess this up with those 2 guys by either rushing them through the system too quickly or putting them, in a situation where they're not fully developed or whatever the case may be. Like, you need those 2 guys to hit. I'm not saying that Graham Pauley, it's okay if he doesn't hit, but at the same time, it's not a situation where if he didn't hit, then it's really bad for the organization. I think Graham Pauley is a guy that showed a lot of promise last year. The problem is, and the question is, like, where would you play him? Like, where is he going to play? He's not a guy that's played a bunch in the outfield. He's not. He's played a bunch of different positions in the infield: third base, second base, DH. If you're going young guy that you're okay with to see what he's got at the beginning, Graham Pauley is a name to look out for. But the Jackson Merrills and the Ethan Salas of the world, the Drew Thorpes who you got in the Juan Soto trade, it's just, you can't afford to not have those guys fail right away. You need to have them hit. And that's just, I feel, bringing all those guys up at once would be a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think people got excited about Paulie because that recent Fangraphs piece, and obviously what he did last year.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys saw, we were talking about Dan Zimborski's projections, and he puts like everybody out there, even guys that might not even play, and just gives them a number based on, and again, it's like super tricky for people that haven't broken through, minor leaguers, prospects, that sort of thing, where there's limited data. But he had Graham Pauley at 97 OPS plus going into this year, which I think is pretty impressive for a guy with no major league experience, given his relative youth in his first year, almost being league average. I think that in and of itself shows some promise.
Yeah, I think that honestly, that is something to keep an eye on. I would say this: I would never DH a true rookie. You know what I mean? Like that would be a big concern to me. Like you need someone that flat out can hit. If you're gonna, I mean, I think you got to really think about DH. Now, maybe you don't have to think about it the first month if it's Machado because he's not playing in the field, and maybe that's a little bit of a stopgap. But like, I don't know, like in the big leagues, and when you've struggled to score like the Padres have, when you play in a pitcher-friendly park, you got to get production out of your DH. And I'm not just throwing out a guy that projects to be good, in the future as an everyday DH. And I'm not saying that anyone's really suggesting that. And maybe Paulie can hit as a rookie, and maybe that happens at some point in 2024. I'd just be fearful to use a rookie as a DH when they kind of lacked offense a year ago. I'd prefer someone that's like a professional hitter.
Yeah, makes sense.
No,
Yeah,
go ahead, Jim. No, I agree, and with that, and it's a DH spot for a rookie. Like, you better be like big time.
Yeah, it's kind of a mind game too. You're not playing in the field, and you're just hitting, and then if you're not having success, I mean, it feels like it could snowball.
Yeah. I would love it if you guys could talk about Rosa Rain on Friday. I don't think that'll be the case. And I think you guys will be talking about this.
I just love his calmness. He loves players. He loves the game of baseball. Certainly he's got experience at the major league level, and I think it's going to be a good fit here in San Diego. And we got our work cut out, against these Padres and Mike in particular. First off, they lost Peter Seidler, who was a good friend of mine, a great, person, and did so much for the community and charity. As far as the organization, it's a very talented organization. So obviously when you bring back Musgrove and Darvish is healthy and lose Soto, but then you've still got Tatis and Machado, the foundation, the nuts and bolts are still there. So it's a rivalry that we have in place, and it's going to be a fun season.
Did he say the
I'm the
R
Leo
word?
meme. I'm the Leo meme from the Hollywood movie.
Everybody,
Ooh.
that was like 50 seconds of Dave Roberts. He was kind enough to ask a few questions out of Torrey Pines on Wednesday. And of all that, everybody heard one word.
Rivalry.
Honestly, man, and I would say this too, real quick, with Dave Robertson. I understand, obviously, the fact that he's the manager of the Dodgers, and that's not going to go over well, obviously, in San Diego. But I mean, I kind of respect what he said there about the organization, about Peter. I mean, it's hard to be critical of Dave Roberts when he's complimenting the impact of Peter Seidler on the organization and saying he was a good friend. And I take no exception with what he said there in your questioning out of Torrey. But the fact that he did say rivalry, I think, is intriguing. Saying it from the Dodgers side, not from the Padres side, I think is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and it's always this thing with Dave Roberts. If you're a Padres fan, this hatred towards Dave Roberts. If you take the Padres, being a Padres fan out of it, I mean, Dave Roberts is like one of the most well-respected people in the sport. And there's a reason why a lot of people down here in the media and everywhere like respect Dave Roberts. But the biggest thing is you love Dave Roberts as the manager of the Dodgers because he always finds a way to mess it up in the postseason. And every Padres fan definitely loves that. So Dave Roberts being the manager for as long as possible, I think a lot of Padres fans are okay with.
Yeah, certainly. And again, they rag on him because he's the manager of the opposing team, and it's easy to do because they've had their shortcomings, and it's kind of become a trend. And I asked him about that, and he gave a fine answer, but an answer you'd expect from a head coach or a manager in that situation. But no, I thought, and I was interested to get his thoughts on Mike Shildt too. I think the takeaway is the rivalry piece, and as Josh mentions, this isn't the first time that he's called it a rivalry. I think that's what everybody will gravitate to, and it's good fodder and good ammo. Now, when that conversation ultimately arises or inevitably arises during the season, Padres fans can say, "Oh, by the way, remember when he said that?" But it was interesting to hear his take on Mike Shildt, and it wasn't super in depth, but obviously there's some respect there. And what is he going to say, that he doesn't respect him as a manager? But saying that he thinks he's going to be a good fit for them, and little tidbits, just kind of like his relationship with players and that sort of thing. A lot of times the stuff is coach speak, but every so often there's something that kind of is meaningful. And I think as we're learning about Mike Shildt a little bit, that gives maybe a little bit more kind of context to who he is and how he goes about his business as a manager.
Did he mention that Mike Shilt's a good manager because he went to an Aztec game last night?
That was also on the list.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad that he acknowledged that because if you're talking about Mike Shildt, you have to mention, hey, look, he's going to be a great manager for this team because he went to the Aztec game the other night versus Wyoming.
So I wanted to ask you guys, now I will say, like, growing up, I grew up in Philadelphia. Every so often you'd see like Allen Iverson in an Eagles jersey.
Yep.
I remember one time I think he took batting practice or something at a Phillies game. And I always thought that stuff was really cool. And I don't know why. Maybe I'm just like, I like everybody to get along and support one another. I don't know. I always think that stuff is kind of cool. Now, does it mean anything? I don't know, but it can't hurt to like endear yourself to a fan base there.
Well, we took an amazing call yesterday from someone that said, like, listen, it's not about Melvin not doing it and Shildt doing it. It's about being a San Diegan and seeing like a fellow San Diegan in the sports community supporting San Diego sports. Like, it's just meaningful to us because we don't always get that. And to your point, like on someone like Allen Iverson, yes, he was respected for doing things like that, but you'll also recall there were a lot of press conferences he would wear Yankees hats, and that was very polarizing.
He was a Cowboys fan too.
Yeah, exactly. And it was very polarizing. And can you imagine a Padres player wearing a Chargers hat in a podium, which, by the way, does happen? I mean, I've seen who is it? Micah Parsons with the Cowboys has worn like Phillies stuff, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, that's right.
So there's that weird dynamic that plays out with athletes, but I respected what the caller had to say about this. Like, listen, it's not about Melvin not having gone there. It's kind of about Shildt going there. It's not what Melvin didn't do. It's what Mike Shildt did do, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, and just backing up, I think the caller that you talked about, John, like brought that back because there was this, I guess, little discourse on social media of not, oh, that's really cool that we saw Mike Shildt there. It was, well, Bob never showed up to an Aztec game. That's the reason why this happened. Instead of, like you said, John, it's
as if this stuff has any bearing on anything.
It does. It was the fact that you see Mike Shildt at a game, you see Joe Musgrove at a game with the show doing the I Believe chant, right? You see Aztecs players going to Padres games. You see last year during the Final Four, every single Padre player wearing San Diego State jerseys. Like it, and we've had a little discussion about this today on the Fusion with Darren. Like, you know, seeing cities and sports teams support other sports teams in the town, like that if you're a fan and if you live in that city, you love to see those types of things. Like you would love to see the Padres tweet out, good luck to the Aztecs on their upcoming season when their season starts. You would love to see the Wave do the same thing for the Padres and vice versa. Like you want to see the sports teams in town all support each other. And I feel like sometimes you don't fully see that in this town. Maybe it's because there's just a few handful of teams, but there needs to be, I feel like, more of that, of the support from every single entity sports wise, whether it be down, you know, the Seals, the Gulls, the Wave, the new MLS team coming to town, the Sockers, the Padres, the Aztecs, the, you know, USD. Like you want to see that synergy with every single sports team in town when as much as possible.
I just Googled, by the way, because I had remembered Brian Dutcher and Bob Melvin at Petco after the Final Four run. I just Googled it and I just found a tweet from Marty, which is video of Melvin and Dutcher interacting prior to a game. You may have been there, Darnay.
Yeah.
And Dutcher's in a Padres uniform.
I almost sent that to Jim in response to his tweet today. That same video.
Because, you know, this idea that, again, I mean, it's just, it's nothing other than social media chatter. But, you know, but if you watch this video of Melvin and Dutcher, you can tell the appreciation Melvin has for the job that Dutcher did. Because I think if you've coached or managed whatever the sport is, you understand how hard it is. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You understand they're different. Head coach of a basketball team in college is different than managing a Major League Baseball team. But you get to a national championship, you get to a World Series, you understand how challenging something like that is.
Yeah. And remember, it was kind of a big deal, like with Alex Morgan. People were like, well, she's from the LA area. She's always been a Dodgers fan.
No doubt.
And then she showed up, her pregame fit in a game last season was wearing that Padres jersey. And her tweet said something like, I'm in my San Diego air or whatever.
Right.
Like that's important. And like, again, it's kind of going against her roots a little bit, but like San Diego's home for her now. It's always been her husband's home. And now this is where she'll likely finish out her, you know, at least NWSL career. And so, that stuff, little things are meaningful and people get excited about it. It's good for the fan base. It gets people fired up. To Jim's point, there's that like synergy and there's that kind of unity that it creates. But I don't think Fangraphs is adjusting their projected win total based on Mike Shildt being at Viejas.
Shame.
They should.
Which is too bad.
It's at least worth like 4 wins in my book.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, no doubt. Promotional giveaways came out. I could ask you guys what your favorite is. What I want to ask you guys is like, if you were Eric Grubner, what would you want to do?
Giveaway day for me, like, and John knows this, I am weird about it, and I love giveaway day. Like you can see behind me, I have the Ha-seong Kim bobblehead where this helmet falls off. I bought this from Foco, the Fernando Tatis Jr. Swag chain one. Love it. And then the special giveaway with Dawn and Mud from last year.
I know I have a bunch of them at the station, and I didn't get that one from last year. I was kind of bummed.
Oh, it must be nice. But I love bobbleheads. Bobbleheads are always going to be my favorite giveaway, no doubt about it. This year, the Musgrove bobblehead with his dog, fantastic. But the one, I guess, thing that, and it might have been too late to do anything, and it's totally understandable, and there probably will eventually. But something with Peter Seidler, I think for to honor him or give away something in honor of Peter, and I think that would have been something fans would have like really liked and definitely saw as like, oh, that's pretty special. But again, you know these promotion stuffs, John. Like they do this years out, like a year out. Like it takes a while.
Forever. Yeah,
it takes a while.
Are shipped in from China or whatever. I worked in minor league baseball, so I used to
What?
handle some.
You never mentioned that, John.
You know what I really liked actually in minor league baseball that I don't know if you see as much in the major leagues, but are co-branded items. So like you just mentioned Alex Morgan, like why not give away an Alex Morgan wave bobblehead at a Padres game because that brings in fans of the other team. I'll give you another one, Lamont Butler. Can you incorporating another sports entity in a city is an extremely popular marketing maneuver in minor league baseball. So they're creative. I think the Padres have done a really good job with their promotions. I think they could be even more creative. I just love the minor league methodology with giveaways and promotions. So Alex Morgan, Lamont Butler, Brian Dutcher, who knows? I mean, there's a million ways you could go with it.
Joe Musgrove has shown up he's one of the athletes that's really good about giving it up to kind of the local teams, and he's been at Wave matches. You could have like Joe in a Wave t-shirt or jersey, and then Alex Morgan in a Padres jersey.
Exactly. Dual
That'd be kind
bobblehead.
of cool. Or you could have Lamont shooting the shot and Tony Gwynn Jr. like giving him a high five or something because like he's an Aztec and went nuts.
It. Yeah.
And obviously his dad's connection.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways. Or Manny in like the Kawhi jersey next to Lamont as he's hitting the shot.
I love it.
There's so many things but they could do. But I think, talking about what they did do, Eric Grubner the last couple of years, I think personally, like has knocked it out of the park. Like I look at the promotion giveaways for other teams, and some of them are bad. Like
look at Oakland.
Very bad. Yeah, exactly. Oakland doesn't even have any.
They're doing a franchise giveaway.
Exactly. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, Miami, like the Padres do a fantastic job with their giveaways.
I agree.
And Eric Grubner's crushed it.
Have some of them. Oh, the Tony Gwynn. Yeah, the old.
I have that as well.
Yeah, Musgrove hats back there. Yeah,
we
love them. I don't know if you guys know this. Jim's getting married in like how many months? 4 months?
What?
Yeah,
I know. I got an email the other day from one of our vendors, and the email started with, "You're 4 months away from your wedding," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, hey, here's another bill for $2,000.
Yeah, they were just trying to get money out of you. They don't want to remind you. They're just like reminding you that you've got some
get ready because the pay's coming. Yeah.
So I thought about it. There's a lot of like interesting roles in a wedding that different people play.
Yeah.
And like if you had to pick somebody within the Padres organization to fill each of those roles. Now I'm not going to ask Aaron. I'm not going to ask you to fill the role of Aaron. But best man. We'll start with best. That seems like the most obvious. Mm-hmm. If you had to pick a Padres player to be your best man, who would you pick? Is John your best man, by the way?
No, John's officiating.
I get forced into officiating it, which is like hours. I'm doing more work on his wedding than he is. I'm spending more time on this wedding than Jim is.
John's going to be more stressed than I will be.
Seriously.
Yeah, because all I got to say is I do, and John has to do a whole like little speech.
Do you need me to produce your wedding too?
Yes, he does.
John maybe wants to do that. Now, are we talking?
Steve says Hosmer should be your best man.
See, that was my question. Do we have to do current Padres?
You can go whatever direction. I would like to keep it current, but if there's somebody that makes sense, go for it. I don't really care. There's no rules.
Yeah, I'll stick with current. And the reason why I'm picking this person is because I feel like he would bring a lot of he would help out with the wedding. That's another reason why I would pick him, because he's my best man. And I feel like this person would be like, look, dude, I got the tuxes. All right.
He's probably planning the bachelor party too. I mean, there's a lot of different responsibilities.
Exactly. I'll plan the bachelor party. We're good to go. You don't have to worry about a thing. All right. It's easy.
Sam planned the bachelor party. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that, Kirk. Continue, Jim. We're just gonna leave that alone.
Tommy Pham. That's a great one, because I was only thinking current Padres because yeah.
Leave that one alone.
Exactly. This person would be fun to go out with. It'd be awesome. My boy Manny Machado. Easy, dude. Manny Machado. Yeah,
dude,
Manny Machado.
Manny hates you in this hypothetical.
But he's my best man, so we're actually good buddies now. So that's the thing, is I asked him to be my best man, and he's like, "Oh, all that stuff you talked about me last year about being better and everything, like we're good." And plus,
you got to go, Joe.
He's one of the
Joe.
Joe
Musgrove, of course. He's like the guy. He's the San Diego, and he brings everyone together. He's the leader. He's like, it's Joe Musgrove.
The reason why I don't pick Joe
Good
Musgrove,
time, but he's responsible.
yeah. The reason why I don't pick Joe Musgrove, honestly, is because he would definitely have all the women's attention instead of me. And so that'd be a problem, including for my future wife.
Wait, so you're saying you're better looking than Manny Machado?
I'm not saying I'm better looking than Manny Machado. I'm just saying that the girls I know find Joe Musgrove to be very attractive. So it's like, hey,
so Manny's your best man.
Manny's my best man. Yeah. Manny, we're gonna have a fun time.
Wow, what a story that would be. You guys,
just
making
best buddies, just the two best friends that anyone could have. Yes, well, he'd be my best man.
So John is doing the officiating. If you had to pick a Padre to officiate the wedding and introduce you and Aaron as Mr. and Mrs. Jim Russell for the first time, who would you want that to be? Oh, I've got a great one. It's not a player though, but it makes so much sense.
The San Diego Chicken.
Don Orsillo.
That's a really good one.
That's
okay, you can't say Don. Who would you pick?
You're picking Jim.
Me?
Yeah, it's your wedding, Jim.
I'm not picking who you're
John
picking.
And I are already married.
Yeah. I haven't worn my ring since COVID, by the way.
Why is that?
And my wife doesn't like it, but I just don't, because I was at home for like 2 years and now I just don't wear it.
Soft.
Really shady.
Okay, if I can't pick Don, I'll pick Mud. Easy.
They should co-officiate. That's actually the move.
That is the move.
Wedding.
Really? I would have picked Ha-seong Kim. He looks good.
Yeah.
Everyone likes him.
Can I take back my best man and change it
Kim?
To Ha-seong Kim?
That'd be fun.
I feature him on my bobblehead shelf. I think I should pick like that player, right?
So there, typically speaking, the bride's dad gives away the bride, walks down the aisle. You give him a firm man hug, say, "I love you, thank you." He's got a tear in his eye, steps aside.
Yeah.
Who would you want to give Aaron away to you and be your father-in-law?
On the Padres? What? Eric Hosmer. No, you know what? I'll go
they're
with
like younger than they're like the same age.
I'll go with Mike Shildt. Mike Shildt.
Mike Shildt would be a good father-in-law.
That's a good one.
Mike Shildt, good father-in-law, head on his shoulders. I think, hearing him speak and obviously because we went to an Aztec game last night or the other night. Yeah, I'm picking Mike Shildt to be Aaron's dad and give her to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't weird or anything.
Usually like the bride, maybe there's like a sibling that is on your in the wedding party that's one of your groomsmen. Like maybe you guys are close, maybe you're not, maybe you become buds, maybe he's in the group just because he's Aaron's brother.
Yeah.
Who would you want that to be? You don't have to be best friends with him, but he's going to be at all the family functions, and like it's cool if you guys can have a beer and have a good time, but it's not necessary. Like whereas you and Manny, like you got to be boys.
Yeah, we're boys. Yeah.
This guy you don't want to annoy each other, and every so often you're going to play golf.
Ooh, Manny's good. Manny golfs. So that's a good one. Golf.
Well, it doesn't have to be golf. I'm just an example of like you're going to be doing things together every so often, but you don't have to be best friends.
Okay. I'll do Xander Bogaerts. I'll go Xander Bogaerts. Yeah, I feel like he'd be a good person. I mean, we might not be best buddies, but if we're hanging out, like we have a beer, and it wouldn't be awkward at family functions. It wouldn't be awkward at all. So yeah, I'll choose him. I'll go with Xander.
That's a good one. Somebody's always the life of the party. Maybe too much, but like you have somebody that kind of like sets everything off.
Fernando Tatis Jr.
There you go.
Fernando Tatis Jr. No question about it. He'll be on the dance floor first person. He'll be the guy that gets the party started. And he's like always a good time. That
might be your best pick yet. That might be your best pick yet.
Easiest one. Yeah.
Who do you want to DJ?
Ooh, all right, I'll go. I'll go with who's the DJ of the team. I'll go not ha-seong. I'll go Joe. I'll go no Joe. That's a
Kinda
good one
like
because I was gonna
what
pick like Manny to be the DJ because he's whoever the DJ is in the clubhouse. You know when they
Yeah.
win a game and the
Mhm.
clubhouse is always bumping. Like whoever that guy is, I'll have be the DJ. So I don't know who that is, but whoever that guy is,
And then you should have Fran Mil Reyes show up and sing "I Will Always Love You."
he'll give the first speech.
How did he do, John?
I think he did fine. I think he did. I don't think he made any serious misstep there. I was surprised by Machado as the best man, but I think he did well.
Yeah. No, I think that was a good list. I think it's gonna be a good wedding. I feel good about it now.
I look, to be honest with you, the reason why I chose Manny Machado because I don't want him to hate me anymore.
Don't worry, he does.
Does he? Does he?
I don't want people to think that I
There
hate
we go.
him. There we go. I don't want people to think that I hate him.
I don't want
'cause
people to
don't.
think that I hate Jaden Ledee either, because I don't.
Yeah, I don't hate Manny Machado.
You were talking about like planning events, Manny and Joe Musgrove being like an obvious guy to do that because like what has he done all week? He's got the team on like a giant fishing boat. They're like having a bonfire, eating pizza.
He's
on the
Mr. Planner.
beach. Mr. Planner. There's been some like team building exercises. I feel like this is a team that could use some team building exercises, especially after last year. There's a lot of different ways you can go. You could take kind of like the laid back kind of approach that Joe has had, those types of activities, just kind of broing out, having beers, eating food. You could also do like escape rooms. You could do like a wilderness retreat. You could do like an ayahuasca retreat. You can go into the darkness with Aaron Rodgers. You could have like a near death experience and everybody like bonds because they survived. John,
That sounds fun.
what kind of team building exercise? It's funny, when I was covering Gonzaga and they made it to the Final Four for the first time, they talked about this team building retreat that they did in like, and it wasn't even that intense, like a campground in Idaho. But some of the guys in the team like didn't do anything in the wilderness, and so it felt like super foreign to them. Like, how do we survive out here? But it ended up being like a bonding experience for the guys, and they said it helped them kind of throughout the course of the season. So maybe these things make a difference, but there's different directions you could go. John, how do you think this team should go? Like, what kind of team building event or activity do they need?
Honestly, what I would make it like bachelor party-esque. I probably wouldn't go that full-fledged or like full-flung because I'm a Major League Baseball team. So I'm probably not going to go to the full extent of a bachelor party. But I feel like something that hurt them a year ago is like they were too tight from day one. Like loosen up. And the expectations were so significant, right? The weight on their shoulders. It just felt like they were tight from day one. You could feel it. They go down 2-0, they're tight. Loosen up, have fun, enjoy each other's company. And not just like manufactured. We don't need to hit piñatas every night. Just loosen up, have fun.
Every so often I'll see the picture of them in the sombrero and be like, wow, that feels like years ago.
Yeah, it's like I feel like go enjoy San Diego. Go out on the town. Go to Vegas. Do something fun as a group, and then get serious about winning baseball games. But don't take it so seriously, like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Like you're capable of playing. Yeah, I always said that last year. Like it's May. Like why are they so tight? Like there's 120 games in front of them. You're down 2-1. It's not World Series Game 7, but it just seemed like they were so tight all year.
What do you think, Jim?
What about group therapy? I mean,
yeah, maybe that too. Yeah.
I might actually agree with Jim here.
Yeah, I like that. I do.
I mean, look.
What was it in Succession after what's his face got in trouble? They all met like in the desert somewhere in some like
retreat.
Giant like home that they owned because they have a lot of money, but like a bunch of people like in the middle of the desert that are
and they had a therapist there.
Yeah,
and what is wrong with you?
Logan gave them no time of day. They need something like that, but they actually need to like go through the process.
Yeah, they need to do exactly that. Have whoever, Manny, Joe, the richest on the team, to rent out the biggest like mansion in the middle of nowhere and have a therapist there and get it all out on the table. Like, look, this happened last year and this can't happen this year. And I hate you and I know you hate me, but we have to work together and we have to be a team, blah, 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 blah. I know it's not the funnest thing in the world, the most fun thing in the world, but I do feel like there were problems on that team, and maybe they're gone now. Maybe some of those problems are gone with Melvin and Soto and Hader and whatever maybe. But whatever happened last year, whatever problems were going on last year in that clubhouse, like that can't happen this year. You can't have those things from last year creep back in to this clubhouse this year. And it starts and to be serious, like it starts and ends with Manny. To me, like when you're talking about the leadership role of this team, like I know Joe has been doing a lot of stuff with the pitchers and catchers here of late, but for the entirety of the team, it starts with Manny. He's the leader. He's the captain. There's no 26 captains on the roster. There's one, maybe two, maybe three, right? But the head honcho guy, that's Manny. And things have to be different this year.
And I would just say to that point, though, real quick, Darnay, is like, I don't even care if they like each other. There have been examples of teams that just win despite the dynamics of the team. I'm not saying it's ideal. I would prefer the opposite to that. I would prefer the all pulling in the same direction on the same rope. But we've seen examples of that not always being the case throughout the course of baseball history or sports history. Just win. I mean, I listen, Manny caught a lot of flack for the what is this high school baseball? This is a business. It's a business of performing, which I do buy to some extent. Whatever they need to do behind the scenes to put their best foot forward on the field is all I care about. And if there's dynamics at play in the clubhouse, but they find ways to win, I'm not concerned about that. Win above all else. I'm not worried about the dynamics in the clubhouse as long as they win.
All great points. I think I would plan a retreat that has like some element of danger. Maybe they end up in a dicey situation. Somebody has to like get somebody out of harm's way. People are kind of freaking out. They don't know. Everybody's scared, and they got to like rally and figure it out. And somebody's got to like be the voice and get everybody together. And
so you want them to face near death, is what you're saying?
I don't want them to face near death, but I do think like kind of a dicey scenario. People are a little bit scared, and like you have to overcome it, and you can't worry about egos or who likes who or anything like that. You're just like, all right, in order for all of us to get home, we need to pull the rope in the same direction and deal with the situation. And I feel like that might do them a little bit.
Stick them in a cave and take all their phones away. See what happens.
Yeah, I like that.
It's good. They'll be down.
This has been fun, guys. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for talking about essentially nothing for the last 52 minutes, because that's what
we do every day.
Season. You guys, how do you guys do this for 3 hours every single day? Well, you mix in some Aztec talk and other things, so that helps.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
we do.
Are you guys doing a wrap-up show after this?
No, we are not doing that. But we typically do on Sundays, Sunday nights. We've been doing them.
Yeah, I checked out some of this week's. Always,
we appreciate
always
that.
good to hear you guys. Yeah. I mean, you don't need me. I mean, you got like I said,
we do. We need you.
And you got thousands of people hanging on every single word. It's amazing.
No,
Sunday night could be interesting. By the way, Sunday night's going to be very interesting.
Why is that?
Oh, because
yeah.
So be very.
By the way, we're not doing Sunday night because I'm away, but we could do.
Let's do 2 weeks after that. Let's do the Sunday 2 weeks after that.
The 11th.
Yeah. Let's do. Let's do that.
There.
We'll do that like 3 o'clock Pacific.
No, we're like 6:30 or 7, like right after the Ravens win.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it with 2 minutes left in the game, and the Niners are driving to win it, and then just start a wrap-up show. That'd be great.
I like it.
I watched the wrap-up show after the Warriors won the championship. So,
oh God,
we don't need that.
That could be an epic one or a bad one.
Appreciate it, fellas. I'm sure I'll see you on a sports wrap on SD Sports 760/NBC7 one of these weeks, if not this Monday, next Monday. And always enjoy when John texts me at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and says, "Hey, can you come on the show in an hour and a half?" It's the highlight of my week.
Somebody's got to do it, and that's got to be me. That's me. I'm the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker.
I'm just there.
What is Jim doing?
Jim doesn't do anything.
I don't do anything.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, man.
Bye.